So I've covered in a previous video what you learn in red phase. Today we're going to cover what you actually learn in white phase. So today's video is actually that failed video that I mentioned the other morning where I recorded this thing and it failed. So we're going to give this thing a second shot. Again, the formatting on this was corrupted or whatever. So we're going to give it another go. So hopefully it's pretty good this time. But anyways, what I'm going to talk to you guys about is what you actually learn in white phase of basic training. I've talked about red phase before, but in white phase, if you didn't know, a lot of that has to do with shooting. So you're going to learn how to shoot people, you're going to learn how to maneuver around different things so that you can basically kill somebody. So that is what most of white phase is dedicated to. So to start it off, I want to go over one of the first things that you're going to do once you actually enter into white phase. Now, when you go through red phase and red phase training, you're going to learn some of the basics about the M4 or the M16, whatever you're using. You're going to learn the basics of that weapon, maybe some of the different positions and stuff to be in. But when you get into white phase, you're going to go to this range called the EST 2000, which is basically a indoor virtual range where the wall is a screen and you have these weapons that are real M4s, right? So they'll be real weapons, but they have just been converted into like a little, fake weapons for, all intents and purposes, basically. So they add in little sensors that, mock the kick of a weapon, which is super accurate. They have lasers that shoot out so that basically you're still shooting at the target so it knows where you're at. And these ranges are really accurate and really close to the real thing, so they're really beneficial. And this is where you're going to actually get your first hands-on experience with actually attempting to shoot a weapon. Now again, they're not shooting real bullets, but they are essentially real weapons, and it's really realistic. So I'm adding that in here at the beginning of the video on what you're going to learn in basic training, because this is when you're going to get your first little bit of instruction on what you're doing right and doing wrong. So after you learn about the M4 or M16 in red phase, some of the other weapons that you're going to learn about in white phase are the M249 and the M240 Bravo. These are some machine guns that you're going to get to use. You're going to shoot these things. You're going to have a class on basically how to disassemble and assemble these things, and you're basically going to learn how the weapon functions. Along with learning how the weapon functions, I have my notes here that I'm not going to screw up reading this time, but some of the basic things you're going to learn about the weapon is like the weight of it. So the M249 weighs 16.41 pounds. The length of the weapon is 40.87 inches. And then you're also going to learn some of the basic information you need to know about the weapon's functionality and how accurate it can be. And so with the M249, or the SAW, that's another nickname. So if you hear somebody say a SAW, which is a squad operated weapon, I believe, they're talking about the M249 here. So, but if you have a bipod on the 249, you're going to be looking at a point target range of 600 meters, an area target range of 800 meters. And I feel like I'm really tongue twisted this video, but with a tripod, you're going to be looking at an 800 meter range for the point target and a 1,000 meter range or a kilometer for an area target. Now again, a point target range is basically shooting a person. An area target is basically you're shooting a group of people, maybe a vehicle or something like that. So that's what those ranges signify. And the maximum effective range is 3,600 meters. And now I know that's super far, but technically you will be able to kill somebody and shoot somebody from that far away. So if you're taking contact from super far away and you're just kind of shooting in that general direction, then you could kill somebody up to 3,600 meters, which is really far. You're also going to learn some basic information on the M240 Bravo. So just to give you guys heads up here, this thing weighs 27.6 pounds. So it's pretty heavy if you actually have to carry it around. So a lot of people are like always really excited and like, oh yeah, I'm going to carry this 240 Bravo because it's like so hardcore and it looks so cool. But then whenever you're carrying the thing around, in addition to all the other weight you have, it's just tiring, because it's not just that, you also have the weight of the sling, and the swing for a 240 Bravo is a pretty hefty sling. So this thing is going to weigh at least 30 pounds, especially if you're having to carry some extra blank rounds and stuff. You're going to be carrying 50 pounds of just extra weight. So the 240 Bravo is awesome, but you don't want to be that guy who's carrying it around. So you're going to learn a little bit about the 240 Bravo functionality, all that stuff. A couple of other weapons classes that you're going to have is the AT-4 rocket launcher and the M203 grenade launcher. Now, the M203 grenade launcher is just something you attach to the under barrel of the M4 or M16, whichever weapon you're using, and you're going to get to shoot some, chalk rounds with this thing. You're going to have a basic instructional class on how to aim this thing. You're also going to learn some of the other base facts on this thing. So the maximum range is going to be 400 meters, the maximum area target range is 350 meters, and the point target range of the M203 grenade launcher is 150 meters. And that's basically just based off of the ticks on the sight that you're going to be able to use. It's going to be able to go out basically to that maximum range, and then beyond that, it's not really going to be that effective because you're just going to be lobbing around, and it just won't be very accurate. So you're going to learn some basic things about that, weight and all that stuff, and then you're going to learn some of the basics about the AT-4 rocket launcher. And with this, you're also going to get to shoot the the chalk rounds, which is little chalk rounds. You're going to get to shoot them. It's pretty cool. You'll go through the whole shenanigans of yelling back and saying back blast area all clear. They'll say all clear, boom, you press the little red button, and it's pretty cool. So you're going to get to do that. You're going to learn all about that, and then you might not touch it anymore for the rest of your military career unless you have a job that does that. So moving on to one of the next tactical things that you're going to learn, and that's going to be basically all based around IEDs. So you're going to learn you're going to have a little class on IEDs, what they're made out of, what they kind of look like, and just general knowledge on an IED. You should not expect to be an expert on this, but you should be able to identify an IED on the side of the road a whole lot better. You should actually kind of know what you're looking for. And when you do have this class on IEDs, you're going to then do a little terrain walkthrough. And what we did was we walked through a town. So if you're going to Fort Benning, you'll go through the exact same town that I did, but you're going to basically walk through a town. It's just like a little village. It's actually pretty cool, and there's going to be just stuff everywhere. It looks like just a deserted town, and you're going to be leading your team. So if you're picked to be the team leader of a group of 4, so a team, then you're going to be navigating through there, and if you see something, you're going to point it out, because you'll have a drill sergeant who's walking with you, and you'll be walking, and then all of a sudden they'll be like, oh, you're dead because you missed that bag right there. That bag was an IED. So it's just a little class that you're going to have on IEDs. Again, what they're made out of, what they look like, purposes and stuff like that. And then you're going to do a little walkthrough, an IED terrain walkthrough. You're going to basically just implement some of the things that you've learned on basically what they look like, identifying them, and then what you should do when you do identify an IED. Now I have 2 more quick little things before I get to the meat and potatoes of this, but a couple other things you're going to learn is barrier shooting, and then you're going to learn how to handle a hand grenade and use a hand grenade. So barrier shooting is basically you're up against a wall, you're going to use a C-grip kind of thing. You're going to possibly go to the range and shoot through, with using a barrier. So that's something that you're going to get to learn how to do. That's a little functionality thing with your weapon. The other thing you're going to get to do and learn how to use is a hand grenade. So basically there's a little bit more to it than a hand grenade that you might think. It's not like it's super duper complicated or not, but you're going to basically have a class on a hand grenade. You're going to get to go through and practice the hand grenades. You're going to throw these little, they're like real grenades that have been transformed into a fake grenade, and they have these little ignition little igniters things in them that will explode, but they don't really like explode. They just have like a little pop, so you'll throw it and then it'll pop, but that's basically it for that. So you'll get to practice with that. But basically, when you learn about this hand grenade, you're going to learn things like, the pin. Whenever you twist and pull the pin, there's like a little step that you have to go through, and then the handle, the grenade handle, basically once that comes off of the grenade 1/8 of an inch, okay? So when it comes off the grenade 1/8 of an inch, that will begin the timer for the hand grenade. And so, if you just happen to like loosen your hand, or you're not holding the thing tight, you're supposed to hold a grenade a certain way, and if you're not holding it that certain way, then your hand might get, distance away from the hand grenade, and then the timer could start, and you could potentially kill yourself because you let that timer go. So a little quick funny story here. I remember whenever I was doing the hand grenade range and I was going through that whole process and everything, it was, you know, it was really cool and everything. But the thing is when you get that hand grenade and you hold it in your hands, it was a really weird feeling for me because I had never held anything before that could kill me, right? I had never, you know, I've held a weapon before, but have you ever taken a loaded weapon and held it up to your head? I mean, I haven't ever done that before, but you know, when somebody points a loaded weapon at you, you're just like, what the heck? So kind of think of the same thing the first time you're holding a hand grenade. This is something that can kill you. It's like pointing a weapon at your head. You know, you're not going to have your finger on the trigger and it shouldn't go off, but it's just a weird feeling. Now, what happened whenever I went to actually go and throw this grenade, because again, you're going to throw the practice grenades, but when you actually throw the live grenade, you have to go through this process where basically they'll walk you through it and you'll learn, but you end up getting in this position right here. So they're going to tell you over the intercom to prepare to throw and the ready throw or whatever. So you're going to be in this position with a grenade in your hand, okay? And what happened to me was I pulled the pin and I was ready to go, but something happened. I don't know what happened, but something happened, and they did not say to throw the grenade, right? So I don't know if there was maybe somebody on the other side of the wall. I don't know what happened, but I was in this position with a live hand grenade that had already pulled the pin on for about 20 seconds. It was a long time, and the timer's only about 5 seconds, so I wasn't like freaking out like that. I was just like, oh my gosh, I really want to get this thing out of my hand. I really want to throw this thing. I really want to throw this thing right now, because that was kind of freaky. So I'm squeezing this thing for dear life, because remember, if that handle comes off just 1/8 of an inch, right? If it comes off 1/8 of an inch, that starts the timer, and it's not like there's like a ticking or anything. Like, it's not like, oh, I'll start to hear this little ticking and I'll know that I should throw it because it started the timer. It's not like that. So that's just a funny story about me the first time I threw a grenade. It's a really weird feeling, and the best way I can describe it is if you held up a loaded gun to your head. Don't recommend doing it. Please don't do that ever. But that's the closest thing I can describe to holding a live grenade after you've thrown it and you're still holding it in your hand. Like, it's a crazy feeling. And finally, one of the biggest things that you learn in white phase, one of the biggest things that you learn in your entire time at basic training, and that is essentially, I wrote in my notes here, like when I was at basic training, this is my notebook of notes that I wrote, and I wrote that today we learned how to kill people. So what I mean by that is you're gonna start to get into the infantry tactics that every soldier in the Army should know. So you should know how to maneuver. You should know what is a squad, what is a wedge, what is, you know, like a team wedge, what's a fire team wedge, what is the squad column, fire team wedge. There's all these different formations that you can be in whenever you're walking around. And those are some of the first basic things you're going to learn. So you're going to learn other things like the positioning within that wedge, right? So is the grenadier going to be next to your team leader? Is the saw gunner going to be next to your team leader? Where's the rifleman going to go, right? So if you're the squad leader and you're in the squad column, you know, where should you be at? So like, what should you do when you take contact? So if one of the battle drills that you're going to learn is going to be react to contact, okay? So when that happens, you're going to learn what you should do. So if you are broken up into an alpha team and a bravo team, and I know a lot of this may not make sense to you guys right now, but if you're broken up into an alpha team and a bravo team and you're the squad leader, whenever you take contact, you need to have some kind of idea of what you should do. Should the alpha team stay there and lay down fire while bravo team goes around and flanks? You know, some of this basic tactics. So you're going to learn some of the basic battle drills: react to contact or react to near, ambush, react to a far ambush, movement to contact. Just some basic things. An ambush. You're going to learn some really basic battle drills and kind of how to navigate through that. Now, you're not going to be an expert or anything, but this is, again, just a baseline knowledge that every soldier should know. So if I tell any soldier to get in a wedge, that they know what I'm talking about, that they know the hand signals for a wedge. And that's some of the things you're going to learn. when you're at basic training. And it's just one of the big things that you will get into in white phase, because once you get to blue phase, that is when you're actually going to, you know, play out all this stuff that you've been learning all through basic training. That is when, during the FTX, you're going to conduct those sticks lanes, and you're going to do a movement to contact battle drill where you're moving along and then people attack you, and then it turns into a react to contact, and you're going to go through these things where you're going to be firing blank rounds. If you just so happen to be a squad leader or a team leader at the time at basic training, you will have to know that position of a squad leader or a team leader. Now, there's no way on earth I can really go in too much depth on basically the different, like, you know, scenarios. So fire ambush is essentially 35 meters or less away. A near ambush, a far ambush is greater than 35 meters, and a near ambush is less than 35 meters, and that's basically a hand grenade throwing range. But there's just a little bit too much to explain with that for you guys. If you are an infantry guy, so if you're going in as 11 Bravo, 11 X-ray, whatever, if you're going in as a special forces guy, if you're wanting to be in the Ranger Regiment, I definitely recommend that you learn as much as you can before basic training, especially on these infantry tactics. So I made a video before talking about some of the books that you might want to look at. There's a couple bucks or so, a couple books that you might want to look at, maybe the Ranger Handbook, and where you can just have some kind of understanding of what these things are that they're going to be talking about, some of the battle drills, so that whenever you go to basic training, and let's say you want to be the squad leader, let's say you want to be the platoon leader, you actually have a much better understanding on what's going on. And then especially if you're wanting to be in the Ranger Regiment, and if you're wanting to be Special Forces, these are things that you're going to have to know really, really well. So the more you can learn before basic training, you're not going to be an expert on it before basic training, but getting that initial knowledge down will really help you out a lot. Now, I'm not saying that you should be an expert on this if you're not a combat MOS. So for me, I was a 25 Bravo, which is an IT guy. There's really no reason why I should be an expert on this before basic training. I'll go to basic training, which I did, and I'll learn the basics of this, which I did, and then I can apply it in situations later on when we've done FTXs, which I have. So I through ROTC, I have become more and more proficient at this, but I would say to you guys who are not combat MOSs, don't fret too much on learning the infantry tactics before basic training. One more thing that I almost forgot with this whole infantry tactics is you're going to learn some of the things of how you're going to live out in the field. So you're going to learn how to set up a patrol base, which a patrol base is basically when you're out in the field and you need to sleep, you need to go to sleep, you have to set up a patrol base. There's a certain procedure that you have to go through to set up one of these things, and I do have this right here. So basically this triangle right here is the patrol base. So you're gonna walk in through this line, you're gonna pivot here, set up your ORP. I know you guys don't know what that is, and then you're gonna go into the patrol base, and you're gonna learn some of those basic things that you're gonna use out in the field in this whole white phase that you're going to then apply in blue phase. So that's it for this video, guys. My air conditioner just cut off or cut on outside, so that's a good cue to end this video. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned a little something, just laying out a few of the things that you're going to learn at basic training, just so you get a general understanding of what to expect. So I hope this helped you guys out in any way, shape, or form. If it did, hit that like button, comment any questions you have down below. If you do have any questions about these infantry tactics or anything, feel free to ask questions down below, or send me a message on Instagram or Snapchat. Follow me on there if you don't already, and I'll see you guys later.